Hello learners, welcome to this session. In this session, we will be discussing about treatment and disposal of solid waste. This topic is related to course BE1 001 of Certificate in Solid Waste Management program. Learners, you must be aware that waste generation and methods to dispose it properly has become a serious concern today. We very well know that the different types of waste are generated from various sources like industrial, domestic sources, agricultural sources, and so on. And it is very essential to see that it is treated properly, it is disposed properly so that it does not pose threat to the environment or our health. So in this session, we will look at what are the different treatment procedures for the solid waste of various types, of various natures, and how we can dispose it scientifically. So let us begin. First of all, let us understand what is a waste. What do we mean by the waste or the municipal waste? There are different terms associated with the waste. So what is a waste according to common terms and common understanding? It is like that substance which is of no use to us, which is discarded after its use, or in today's times we call it that it is a misplaced resource. We agree to this point that in nature there is nothing like that of waste. Every product has an utility, but we need to see that what is the utility of the different so-called waste substances that we are throwing away. And in the present time, several million tons of waste of various types are being generated. They are generated such a great extent that it is now becoming alarming. The environmental pollution of various types is occurring because of this enormous quantity of waste. And not only the quantity but also the nature of the waste has changed over last few decades. In the earlier times, the nature of the waste was such that it was biodegradable. It was not generated in exceedingly high amounts, but it was so less. The nature was so that nature itself took care and was able to replenish and renew it accordingly. But in today's times, the type of the waste which is being generated is toxic, which is hazardous, which persists in the environment for several millions of years. So we are worried not just because of the number of the amount of the waste which is generated, but also because of the fact that the nature has it has been altered to a great extent, and it has become very toxic. If it enters into our body, it poses threat. And another thing is that it is known by several names. We call it we call it solid waste. We simply name it as waste or the municipal waste. In some countries, it is known as rubbish. We call it garbage, refuse, litter, municipal solid waste. These are the different terms which are given, and all these terms mean the same, that these are the substances which are generated out of the production activities. These are the leftover product substances, the discarded materials which are no longer used by us, or which have been broken, which have lost their utility value, or which are maybe outdated in certain circumstances. So all these are the waste substances which are being generated from various sources. And so today we talk about solid waste management, which is something which is very, very important concern nowadays. Solid waste management refers to proper collection, transportation, and disposal of the waste in such a manner. It follows certain steps, it follows certain procedures, and it is such that it ends up scientifically, and we are able to see that the whole management, the journey of the waste, right from its generation to its final disposal, is made in such a manner that it is scientific, it is proper, and it is very much regulated. So when we talk about solid waste management, it also refers to the various steps which are there. There are various steps. It is not something just, see, in the earlier times, what was the solid waste management perceived to be? When the waste was out of the site, it was thrown away from the outskirts of the city or in the water bodies, it was perceived that the management of the solid waste has been done. Because what was the primary notion of getting rid of the waste was to make it out of sight. It is no longer visible. That means it has been taken care of. And it is for the same reason that we find huge heaps of mountains of garbage outside our cities, below the hills, in the water bodies. We find lot of garbage floating. So, but this is not the management. Actually, this is just getting rid of the waste out of your sight. But proper management, if we look at it, that means it has to be segregated properly, it has to be collected, transported and disposed properly in a scientific manner. So solid waste management involves various different steps. So learners, now let us see what are the different steps of solid waste management. The number one step is segregation. Carefully segregating the waste on the basis of its various characteristics, whether it is biodegradable, whether it is recyclable, whether it is domestic hazardous waste, whether it is an inert waste. So, the process of identifying and segregating various types of solid waste at the point of their generation. This is known as source segregation. Where the waste products have been released, if there and then we make an effort to collect it, to segregate it, then it is known as source segregation. Because if the waste is not segregated properly, if the municipal waste gets mixed up with other kind of waste, whether it is electronic items or it is a biomedical waste or plastic articles, then it is very difficult to manage it. That means it is very difficult to treat it according to the methods which we have. So further we will be knowing about the treatment methods. So these treatment methods work the best when the waste is segregated properly according to its nature. So it becomes our duty to see that at industries, at household level, at commercial level, at institutional level, at various levels, we must check that the waste discarded substances are segregated and collected. And there we'll be able to see that we are able to treat it in a the suitable manner. So the main categories where it is expected that the waste should be segregated is, you must have heard about the wet waste. Wet waste means the biodegradable waste. The waste which gets easily degraded by various bacteria, the microorganisms, and that includes the waste which is generated from the kitchens, vegetable peelings, etc. Another category of the segregated waste which is expected is the recyclable waste, which we call it as the dry waste. So recyclable waste means those articles which can be recycled. For example, paper can be recycled, glass can be recycled, metals can be recycled, certain plastics can be recycled. And the third category is the domestic hazardous waste, which includes various types of, the medicines, the expired medicines, the sanitary products which are coming out of our homes and other places. So domestic hazardous waste is also very, very toxic. It poses threat to our health. And most importantly, when these three types of waste, these are the broad categories, when these three kinds of waste, if left unsegregated, they mix and then we are not able to manage it scientifically. After segregation, the step next is collection. You must have seen about the various types of collection vehicles in our colonies, in our cities, in our the places, societies where we are living. We must know, you must be aware of that, how the waste is collected. For example, in cities we have the system of door-to-door pickup of the waste. So we know that the person will come and he will pick up we put our bags outside and the person will come and take away the waste products from our homes. Like for example, there are certain community collection centers also where you have to go yourself and throw your trash at that place. So these are the various mechanisms of collecting the waste from various sources, and how the waste will be collected and what methods or what machinery will be used depends entirely upon the location, on the population, on the type of the waste generated, and so on. So the collection of the solid waste depends on the type of the collection services, because there are certain places where it becomes very essential to collect the waste twice a day, where the places are very hot, very humid. If rainfall is occurring means for a longer spells of time, and there is a threat that if the waste gets collected, then they may attract the infections and the diseases. So that depends upon the type of the place. So at certain places the collection is done twice a day, at many places it is once a day. So that depends, and the type of the collection system means how it is collected, whether the door-to-door collection is there or there is a community collection center, and how it is being collected. So that is also depend that whether it is an industrial area or it is a residential area or a commercial area. So depending upon the nature of the waste, the type of the collection is decided and framed the proper collection methods. So this is the second step of the waste management, and you must have seen about the various collection vehicles. For example, in the on the screen you can see the various types of collection, what we call it, a kind of a mechanisms. You must have seen these different types of dustbins at the public places also, in gardens also, in your societies and the localities also. You must have seen. So these are the different examples, and these are very common, and green and blue signifies the collection or the segregated collection of the biodegradable waste, that is the wet waste in the green dustbins, and the recyclable waste or the waste which is recyclable or the dry waste is collected in the blue dustbin. So after segregation, there is a transportation of the waste, because once the waste is collected, it has to be transported to the facility where it will be recycled, or whether it will be burnt, or whether it will be composted. So whatever methods of treatment of the waste we are deciding, at many places in the cities you must have seen very big recycling centers also. Material recovery facilities, MRFs, are also there in various cities, where you will find that a certain amount of the waste from various sources comes here, and the recyclables are recycled and different procedures are done. So the selection of the vehicle, again it also depends upon the cost, and most of the times it is seen that the urban local bodies and the municipal bodies are spending most of their budget on the waste collection only. So this is one of the, and in the cities what we see is that there are the huge trucks which carry the waste generated from various sources in a city. It is being collected and it is disposed at the landfill sites, and it is therefore a common sight at the landfills that there are a large number of trucks waiting for their turn to unload the waste which has been collected by them. And in the cities, when on the roads also, we have many times come across these type of vehicles which are having the garbage which is generated from our home. So collection vehicles also must be, nowadays there are having GPS and these type of facilities to track the movement of the waste. Now they are made very much automated, but in the earlier times also, and in some smaller places, we still find that there is a kind of a waste which is coming out from these collection vehicles, it is falling on the ground and it is not covered, neither it is being scientifically done, and the manual labor is mostly involved in handling the waste which is being collected from the various sources. So this is also one of the important step. And then sorting and transformation. So now it is basically here actually where the treatment, now what has to be done with all the types of the waste which has come. So first, it is essential to sort it according to the categories. So glass, metals, paper, plastic, wet waste, electronic items, plastic articles, it is sorted now. And again now you will realize at this point that sorting and transformation becomes very easy if the waste is segregated and collected. So now if we have the total waste volumes which is coming, if it is properly segregated from the source from where it is generated, then it is very easy to sort it and very easy to translate it. So sorting of waste into recyclable ones or biodegradable ones or hazardous ones is done at the centers, and according to the nature of the waste or the type of the waste which we have received, alternatively the treatment procedures, the treatment methods are decided. So at the material recovery facility centers which are now coming up in the cities also, transfer stations are there where there is a transfer of the waste part, the substances, the disposal sites. That also, and here also you will find that a lot of manual work is done. Most of the children and women are involved. So transformation of the waste means that to treat it properly or to see that it is managed properly, some mechanism is required, and that is called transformation, because sometimes it is made into liquid form or sometimes it is broken into small pieces so that it reduces in its size. Sometimes it is mixed with other compounds, other substances, so that it is able to get along with the treatment procedures which we have decided. So this is the transformation stage, where with the help of various physical, chemical and the biological methods, the waste which is generated from the various sources is subjected to various methods of its transformation. So various treatment methods. So now we come to disposal of the waste, that how it is disposed. We have seen in the earlier times it was all uncontrolled disposable. Uncontrolled means there is no check, there is no sorting, no segregation, no transformation. As such, the waste is being collected and thrown at the landfills. So this is the most easy, very cheap method of getting rid of the waste for a city. But what is desirable is there should be controlled disposal, which is done at the landfill. So you must be aware about the landfills, the secure landfills, the sanitary landfills, which are all engineering mechanisms, engineering methods to see that waste is disposed at a place where the leachate, the poisonous liquid which is being generated also does not percolate into the ground. So neither does it percolate into the ground, nor does it move out in the form of various particles. So it is also not carried away by the rainwater. This is the controlled disposal method which is generally adopted. Now, as we know, you must have heard about the landfills. There are various landfills which are the places where the waste is being done. So this is the method of disposing on the land, and there is no nonsense or there is no hazard to public health, because engineering principles are employed, and engineering principles look into the topography of this place. They look into the water table of that place, they look into the various soil type, and accordingly the site is selected to be the landfill site, which has an impervious layer of logs, so that when the waste materials are dumped in, it does not kill the microbial diversity, it does not enter into the ground, it does not move away with the help of there is no attack of the rodents, insects of such kind. Moreover, it does not flow along with the air or water. So these are the designated scientifically made landfills. So most commonly we find that landfills are the only method of disposal which is still prevalent in many of the cities. However, it is not scientifically correct, because those materials which are ending up in landfills, they have the potential to be converted into energy, or we can make some article out of it, we can get some resources out of it, and this is totally a mixed kind of waste which is coming at the landfills. So there is no utilitarian value out of it. Only according to the solid waste management rules 2016, only those substances which are inert, which cannot be subject to any other treatment, must end in the landfills. For others, some suitable procedures must be followed. So on the screen you can see what are the treatment methods which are available nowadays. So treatment methods include either recycling can be done, or recycling can be either biological or chemical. So you must have heard about the terms like composting, biomethanation, vermicomposting. So when we are utilizing the waste products into any usable form, so it is either subject to the biological treatment with the help of microorganisms, with the help of earthworms, where the waste is converted into manure or the compost which can be further utilized. If it is not the biological treatment, then there is a chemical treatment. We apply certain chemicals, or we give thermal pressures, or certain temperature is required to heat burn the waste, or there is an application of certain enzymes into it so that it loses its basic nature, and then it is able to be manufactured into some other kind of the substance. So these are the common terms associated with the treatment of the solid waste, like biomethanation, incineration, pyrolysis, and these have been very commonly utilized also. So one of the most common which is recommended for the agricultural waste or the kitchen waste in our country is the biological treatment. This is the composting which can be done at our homes also, because 60% of the waste which is being generated from the various sources, mostly it is the biodegradable waste. So biodegradable waste can be subject to composting. This is the decomposition of the organic matter in the presence of oxygen. So the oxygen and the microorganisms together act upon the organic matter of the waste materials which have come out, and because of which what happens is that after certain days, maybe 1 week or 15 days or 21 days, it gets converted into the useful manure. Aeration is required in this, so it can be either externally provided, or with the help of the machines we can go for composting. So this is the most common method of utilization of the biological treatment of the waste which is being generated. So it can be either manual composting or it can be mechanical composting. So it is recommended that at homes also we can do it. Thermal treatment is the most common, wherein the waste is burnt at high temperature and pressure, reduces in the volume the various hospital waste, the various other kinds of the waste. Incineration is the most common practice because it is burnt at very high temperature and pressure and it reduces in its volume, but it also has certain demerits, because when you burn the waste, there is a release of various harmful pollutants, dioxins, furans, harmful gases into the air. If it is not tackled properly, that it may pose another threat to our environment and to us also. We go for pulverization, pyrolysis. These all methods are thermal treatment methods. We are utilizing heat, we are using high temperatures to burn the waste, sometimes in the presence of oxygen, sometimes in the absence of oxygen, and there is it's a destructive distillation where organic matter is again converted into gases, liquid or coal tar, for example, it is manufactured. So it is by the methods of pyrolysis. On the other hand, pulverization is basically applicable for getting back the glass or the paper and such kind of things. Like with incineration, we have seen that it is burning at high temperatures and pressures. Pyrolysis also converts the organic matter into carbon ashes, and the generation of the gas, oil and gas takes place with the help of pyrolysis. This pelletization, you can see on the screen that there's a small pellets like formed. Now these are the organic matter, it's compressed, and this is the fuel cells, and that is why we talk about the generation of the energy from the waste. So in this session we have seen about how the different types of the waste can be treated and disposed of in a scientific manner so that it is taken care of and does not pose threat to the human health and environment. Thank you so much.